Hello and welcome everyone to this 2019 TLC session. My name is Paul Schultz and I will be the host of this session. Thank you for joining us for tips for building relevance and trust in virtual teams. I'd like to welcome Bill Davis and Ron Beach as they present this great topic for us this afternoon, and go ahead and take it over, Bill and Ron.
Thank you, Paul. What we're going to do with this just first slide is just give you a little quick background on just quick snapshot, my career, purpose of this presentation, and then Ron can introduce himself. Then I'll take some slides and we'll work through it, and then Ron will conclude here with some tips and different things that are a little deeper insights into virtual teams and virtual leadership. What I'd like to say is that my name is Bill Davis. I've had a successful progressive career in the soft drink industry with the Joyce Beverages, 7-Up, and then PepsiCo system starting in 1976. So successful, progressive 34-year career. I've had all kinds of titles, leading people. I was an executive when I left, and I went into higher education in 2004. And anyway, I absolutely love my career. I love teaching. I love the whole idea of helping adult learners make connections, and that's what drives me when I see that. I know that drives Ron. So the opportunity here to present with Dr. Beach, who is one of my friends, a great colleague. He was my associate dean when I started. Matter of fact, he hired me into the Forbes School of Business in 2012, which, Ron, I appreciate. So big thank you to you. And but I progressed and I grew under him, and I learned a lot about managing virtually through him, with him, experiential learning on the job. And so with that said, you have a little feel for a little context of who I am and what I do. And I teach in the Forbes School of Business. I've taught over 200 online courses, and it's just been absolutely super. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ron Beach.
Hello, everybody. It's great to have you here. Again, my name is Ron Beach, and I've been with Ashford University 8 years now. I have a regular career in operation management, 25 years, managing factories for Hitachi, Western Digital, a lot of international type work. Served my time in the Marines, one tour of Vietnam. Police officer, every Marine has to be a police officer at one time or another. So I was a police officer in Southern California. But I joined Forbes School of Business in 2011 as one of the first full-time faculty. Since that time, I've worked in various roles: associate dean, professional studies, program chair, and now I'm currently lead faculty of the business administration program. And with Bill, we're also the faculty advisors for the Forbes School of Business Technology Management Club, which has over 2,500 students in LinkedIn. And so we have a lot of activities, a lot of fun, and Bill's going to have a great presentation here. Back to you, Guy.
Ron, thank you. Thank you very much. And, we do team well together. You got to kind of team up and really collaborate together. And it's just been such a pleasure working with Dr. Beach. So with that said, let me go ahead and let me just tell you what do we base this presentation on? Well, a lot of our own experiential learning, things we've done on the job, through the job, off the job. Also, just our experiences, but also this article Ron and I teamed up on. I'm a big believer in this Ashford University forward thinking. These are short articles that are anywhere from 700 to 1,000 words. I've written, I gotta say, I've written about 100 of these for Ashford forward thinking, as well as ICPM management briefs and other publications, U.S. Postal Services. But all of these articles, allow us to bubble up to the surface our experiential learning, our knowledge, and to put it into easy to understand, concepts and experiences, so students get it and they can take it to the next level. So we took some things out of this article we wrote, took some things out of a book that I had just finished with Dr. Marty McAuliffe and Charlie Minnick, that Ron was instrumental in helping us design this. and also from our own Dr. Ron Beach, who I had the pleasure and privilege to work for, not only when he was Associate Dean, but also, I've written with him on that article that I just showed you. That was one we collaborated on, but also, as my program chair up until I had gotten promoted to program chair myself. So Ron and I have a great relationship. He has written a great book here. I would be remiss if I didn't, put this out here and just talk a little bit about how practical and useful some of the tips and things are that keep us mindful of these types of concepts, these must-dos that you must do to be successful. Because the world today technology continues to be in the world, number one driver of change, and rapid change is the norm in most organizations today. And in response, organizations, they're fine-tuning, making all kinds of fine-tuning changes, some transitional type changes involving several departments, and technology is usually at the core of that. And more leaders are overseeing teams that work across departments. As these departments adjust and the shifts continue, a virtual workplace, or at least a situation where some employees are working virtually part of the time, it's emerged. And I think if we look at our own jobs, I never would have thought I wouldn't have, for example, my Pepsi career, been outside of the, when I was in the field, working in my locations and then going out in the field, seeing customers and so forth, to all of a sudden I'm at home all the time teaching and interacting like we are now because of technology. So it has changed the world. And organizations, I put this in here, we put this in here because we think it's important for an organization to be agile, where they can respond to changes, but, organizations have become learning organizations. And the four traits of an organizational learning are being constantly ready, continuously planning, improvised implementation, and action learning. Constant readiness allows organizations to respond to these rapid change situations. Continuous planning, obviously, is the process by which leaders focus on flexible strategies, flexibility, adaptability, rather than mapping every step of a process. And an improvised implementation signifies that a culture is open and accepting the change. And I think that's one thing I've learned in this industry, is being very open and adaptable in realizing that these are just stages in a change continuum, and we just have to kind of stay with that and be open to it and see the possibilities. And an action learning is the process of learning in which organizations, they're just constantly learning and adjusting. But this is something that I've taken with myself. The need for virtual teams. First of all, virtual team is a group of people who work independently, again, with the key word here, shared purpose across space, time, and organizational boundaries, and they use technology to communicate and collaborate. Virtual teams allow organizations to bring people together with the best expertise, regardless of where they live, which presents leaders with unique demands, dynamics, and challenges. One thing I'll say for Dr. Beach is that he, constantly kept us mindful and aware that it's different to work at home, work remotely, than it is in an office with people. And so, we did a lot of fun things on the team, just to stay connected. And, for example, one of the processes that he implemented that I really like, and I've seen it done in some teams and some teams don't do it, but he had one meeting a week with all of us, and then he also had one individual meeting a week. So, for example, on Monday, we would check in at, say, 11 o'clock, and we just had 30 minutes for us just to talk. No goals, just conversation, dialogue, what's on your mind, how you doing, what you do this weekend. We built that whole rapport type thing, and that became something I look forward to. Then we had our Thursday meeting where we would sit down and we talked about the business issues, the tactics, strategies. But that's something that I think that was very unique, and we were disciplined. He was disciplined. We were disciplined to follow that through. But what do you need to lead a virtual team? We all understand, at least, and I know that in my career, in management positions, administrative positions I've had in the PepsiCo system, that you're proactive where you react before the change occurs, or you're reactive, reacting to changes. I've always tried to stay ahead and be proactive to help ensure sustainability and continued success in and outside the organization. Strategic leaders, they anticipate changing events and situations, and they work to keep balance as they work through them. Now, Steve Bailey is a board of regents member with me on the Institute for Certified Professional Managers, and we all write articles for that particular education briefs and management briefs. And he wrote one on virtual leadership, and I just like this particular comment he made here in one of his articles. Working virtually has its own rules for job sharing, strategies for effective collaboration, and discernible competencies for both leaders and team members. And I applaud Dr. Beach because he made us aware of those things too, the differences in them, and he was sensitive to them. And so as I look at all that, I think that that's a good learning for me, to understand that, hey, we're working virtually here. There's a different set of rules. Here's how we do it. Here's the way we want to collaborate. And we need to have these skills, so hopefully, for example, you can hear my tone. It's appropriate. You can, we're speaking clearly. We're communicating. We're organized. We've got a good visual for you. That's the kind of thing you want to continue to do virtually. Virtual teams require leaders who know how to work with the right technology. Boy, thank God for Ashford University. They taught me a ton about technology, as far as using the different platforms, eCollege, Blackboard, Canvas, using all the tools. And then now we've got Zoom, we've got all the things we need to do to be successful. And again, the right technology and the people who have the proper skills to work, the key word here, effectively across space, time, and organizational boundaries. Therefore, the ability to stay current with technology, collaborate, and educate employees and innovate is a must for organizational success. And, the thing that we want to remember is to, use these tools, because these tools can really help us make just a huge impact. And, the thing you want to remember here is that, using these particular steps, the right technology, understand your purpose, building trust through technology, communicating well, applying your emotional intelligence, and then embracing, that's a typo there, apologize, but should say embrace diversity. So with this said, Ron, I'm going to just leave this slide up. I'm going to turn it over to you, and then you can kind of talk about these things too, and then you can bring in some other things that you like. So Ron, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I must warn you, I'm passionate about virtual teams. So I'll probably run over and take the next 2 hours. No, when you look at how much popularity do we have going right now with virtual teams? Indeed, this morning I did a search just for virtual supervisors. 19,000 positions came up. Now, I'm not talking about filling the envelope type jobs or anything else, but I'm talking about credit unions, Google, Apple. There's 15 government agencies, DOD, VA, Postal Service, NASA, Department of Health and Service. There's a lot of demand with the unemployment being down at 3.2%. That just means there's a lot more opportunity to use technology to bridge that gap. Now, 3.2%, that just means out of every 100, there's 3 adults and a teenager who's not looking for a job. So and really get into the challenges. There was a good question about the differences from work environment, going through. We don't realize the value of sight as part of our communications tool, whether somebody's stopping by your cubicle or whether you're having on-hand meetings. So this is where you have to use the right technology. And there's how you use it. And there's a lot of different tools. On Monday, I have meetings with everybody, and we don't talk about work. And I'm making a very strict time limit on making sure I don't schedule. If anybody else schedules a time during my set time, then their schedule comes first. You have to respect the time of your people who are on your teams. So that's Mondays. We talk everything but work. That's for Thursday. Thursday we do video conferencing. You need to have time for the team to get to know each other. Talk without the meeting starting. So they need that communications and tag through. working in a virtual environment is lonely out there. And so, and it goes all the way back to how you select people to work on remote teams. Do you want extroverts? But being an extrovert, that doesn't mean, that, they're just going to be self-charging. They need that interaction. So you kind of use technology to go through it. And so you're going through is how you stay in touch. I think one of the best advice I've given anybody when it comes to conflict, which we run into every once in a while, is, call, don't write. In other words, I'd rather, when I have a conflict with an associate faculty or some issue, I'm one of those, I'd rather call and talk to you in person. It's much easier, and you get to the real heart of the matter, and you really kind of resolve it. If you're just typing, doing an email, it doesn't have the same punch, the same power. And so I really kind of get into how you use the tools. There's what I call virtual nuggets. There's a ton of free tools out there. And that's why in my book, I just have whole sections on virtual nuggets, just to give people an opportunity. It's hard to stay on top of technology. Right now we use Zoom. Before that it was Skype. Zoom made it much easier. Now there's going to be new ones that's going to replace Zoom, just how to get into it. But it makes it where people are doing, well, what I call, when it comes to EKH, I'll talk about the Monday meeting, I call that priming the pump. To get to that really good water down the bottom of the well, you have to put something in. That's my Monday meeting. That's priming the pump. You're putting some of yourself, your own time. None of us have all the time we want. I get that. But that little bit of time you spend with that person there, you're priming the pump to get that communications. That's what you're going to need the rest of the week. Now, people, some of the people names I see on the list are the ones where I've called and I go, hi, let's bond. It's, when you have that connection already, it's not as just negative. You don't want to just hear your boss when things are bad. I like to call people and say, Allison, I was in your classroom the other day. I saw how you were responding. I just want to say thank you very much. Now, can I do that with all 100 of my associate faculty? No, but I can still get that time out there. And so there's a lot of activities, a lot of fun. You can't rely on just baby boomers, my generation, that right now, I think it's only 29% of the baby boomers are planning on working after 29. And there was 29% after they reach age 70, which is quickly approaching. Okay? And so, which means you need to use this technology because you're all going to be fighting for the same talent pool. Right? Especially right now in our field, everybody's jumping on the online platform business. So it's not hard to get instructors. It's hard to get good instructors. And that's the key. Same with all the other positions. Well, I warned you, I can kind of get carried away. I can kind of really get going here, but I don't want to eat up the whole time. Let me give it back to Bill.
Sure. Ron, thank you. And, your passion comes through loud and clear. I love your tone. You can all see how much Ron loves virtual leadership and teamwork. And the point that I just want to make before I proceed here, when you look at these 6 tips, I guess if you take something away, we obviously know there's technology, there's tools. But just understand your purpose. These are your tools to reach people. And I think what Dr. Beach is showing and demonstrating is that you can use this tool to reflect your tone. You can even use it to reflect your nonverbals. If you're on camera, there's a lot of ways to communicate, rich communication. And this is just all great. Now, the one thing that I love is, building trust, because I'm a believer in Philip Kotler's relationship marketing theory. I grew up with that. And, you go out there you build good relationships, you build trust. So it makes every transaction a little easier as you're working with large supermarkets or chain stores or whatever, convenience stores. Because what happens is people know you're reliable. And the 5 dimensions of trust are honesty, competence, dependability, reliability, and likability. And if you're honest and you're consistent, you model consistency, you do know what you're talking about, you're likable, you're dependable. When someone gives you your trust, they can rely on you. What starts to happen is you develop a reputation And now I'm going to shift this back to these tools. If Dr. Beach says, look, Bill, we want to have a meeting on Thursday and Tuesday, and I participate and execute in that very well, and we're communicating very well, what starts to happen, I increase my trust with Dr. Beach and vice versa, because we're modeling consistency. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't point that out. And then being able to master your qualification skills, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship management, self-management. The more you apply to EQ, the better. And the more you work across cultures and departments, boy, it's powerful. And virtual leadership helps us do that. So, you know, Dr. Beach, do you have anything else you might just want to add? A little tip or two in this particular, you know, as you're thinking?
Well, you get into, you know, the value of, we use the same skill sets that you have in face-to-face groups. You know, there was a question in the chat about differences from working in an office area and going online. You're using the same tools, but you have different emphasis, which being in communications and building trust. Those are primary key. Everything else is workable. And the problem is, just because you're a real good manager or leader in an office doesn't mean you're going to be a good manager or leader in a virtual environment. Same with the employees. You need being a self-starter. You need to be someone who really likes to get out there and communicate with people. And otherwise, it gets really lonely on here. You know, I'm surrounded. I have 5 monitors and 3 computer systems here. You know, and as much as I love technology, it can get kind of boring in here sometimes. And so the communications is going through, and that is so critical of building that trust of going through. Your people have to have the trust in you that you're going to watch their back. You're going to be the resource supplier. You're going to be one to communicate and keep them up to date with information. In a virtual environment, you're out there all by yourself. You don't hear news. You're separated from the news. You're separated from the meetings. Or when you have meetings, all you have is people typing on the computer, shuffling papers, over talking to each other. Poor meeting discipline. You know, so all this time is really valuable. Your time is valuable. And so I really try to emphasize that when I work with folks. And then the next book I'm working on now is on virtual accountability. But virtual accountability is a double-edged sword for the people and for the manager. And it goes back all the way back to how you select and hire people. So,
thank you, Dr. Beach. You know, the thing I just wanted to show you here, Ron talked about asserting yourself. You know, I have a little acronym I've memorized, you know, and from the old days that, you know, when I describe myself, I'm highly motivated, very enthusiastic, extremely cooperative, and I'm an assertive self-starter. And Ron talked about being engaged. You know, if you'd like a free copy of this ebook, you're welcome to it. We wrote that. There's just a lot of little chapters in there that talk about staying engaged. And that came from Marty McAuliffe, Dr. Marty McAuliffe. And he said it to me in a car one time. I said, well, we should put some articles and things together, write a book on leadership. So that is there for you if you'd like that, bill.davis@ashford.edu. And of course, you know, Ron's book is out there. We're not doing a commercial for the books. We're just letting you know that's where the content is. But you grab these nuggets, these ideas, and you take out some of the content that's good here. So with that said, you know, one of my mentors taught me a long time ago, when you present, to be good, be brief, and be gone. Of course, we didn't race through this too quickly, but the goal here was to give you a few ideas, concepts that you could use and apply to increase your effectiveness. You know, good leaders, they're effective, and they also get relationships. You know, so when you look at leading, you know, virtual leadership can help you build those relationships if you're consistent, you know, and then also too, you communicate well, you can be even more effective, and then you follow up, and you got this whole process of working, you know, that's communicating well through technology. So I love working virtually. I love, you know, since this started for me, I think back in 2012. So I wouldn't trade it for the world. And we've made a huge, huge impact, touched a lot of lives because of technology and working virtually. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just, Ron, do you have any closing comments? Then we can open up the floor.
No, it's, I really appreciate, man, it's great turnout. And that's cool. But it's such a great topic. And besides being our platform for our work, is also a platform where a lot of our students, they get their degree. Maybe they're in middle of Georgia or Mississippi or some state, and they're saying, well, I don't want to leave this area to get a job. There's a virtual market out there, and I try to emphasize with students, take the time. You're an expert with online platforms already by taking the courses. So take time to actually look around. There's a lot of opportunities. So.
Yeah, and Ron, I have to say, I'm looking at some of the names that are attending in here, and boy, we got some outstanding communicators in here. So, shout out to Morgan Johnson and her team. I see Herminda, Deb. I see Kate Johnson is in here, and you talk about communicating. Ryan Thomas, you talk about communicating virtually. Wow, what I had the pleasure and opportunity to work on Morgan's team, and I tell you, I learned a lot of this there too. And so we are leveraging technology. So let's keep it up. Let's keep improving. What a pleasure and an honor to present here. And, thank you for all the attendance.
Hey, Bill, there is a question in the chat.
Yes.
Do you also do one-on-one meetings regularly for both you and Ron, or just team chat and team business meetings?
Well, Ron, I'm going to take that one and you can answer it too.
Sure.
I would like to say that I learned about these one-on-ones from Morgan Johnson. And what Morgan used to do, she did it quarterly, but she reserved, I think she reserved like a half hour, an hour for us. And I went, holy mackerel. She was, our director, and she would actually take time, and she didn't have the manager included in there. It was just time with her. And I just absolutely love that, because the normal day-to-day business, would go on, but she had time for me to say, hey, Morgan, I'm interpreting this and so forth. And she go, oh, I see that. And then she'd give me a different perspective. And we didn't, and that was just her and I. But anyway, I love those one-on-ones. But to answer your question, Ron had that implemented too. And I always liked that line to him, that I could just kind of talk outside the group, and not necessarily talk about people, but, if I wanted to talk about, because we didn't talk about people, we talked about process. We didn't talk gossip or ill-fated events that have happened to people or controversial issues. We just talked. We just would come in and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking on this. I'm struggling with this a little bit, or I don't get this. We just had good dialogue, or we talk about things that happen. And so the one-on-one was outside of the normal week. I don't know what the interval is everybody would want, if they want it once a week, twice a week, whatever that is, but Ron did it every week. And sometimes if you didn't have much to say, you kind of passed. But the thing that I loved, it gave me an opportunity to say, hey, I'm thinking of this, and I might be struggling. I wanted to ask you this. That saved me I didn't have to go pick the phone up or something. I knew it was coming Monday, so I could ask him then. But to your question, that's up to the individual. That's situational. People can choose what they want to do with that. The team leaders. But I love open communication, and I love a structured meeting. And it just helps the whole leadership process, the system process just really work. So, Morgan, I hope you appreciate that shout out there to you guys, because you're a model for this kind of thing. So thank you. And Ron, I'll give it back to you.
Just real quick. No, I believe in the one-on-one is every Monday, and that's just in my time schedule. Everybody has time. I think I'm maybe in the last 5 years, I've maybe had to recancel or reschedule maybe 3 times, due to, some of their pressing meetings. Otherwise, I try to respect everybody's time on going out. And so, and that's something you have to consider in your meetings also, is the time differences for all your people on your team. Some will be on the West Coast, East Coast, wherever the case may be. So the one-on-one is critical. I consider that priming the pump. You're investing your time, which is the one thing we don't have a lot of, but it's worth it. And so I totally agree with getting that communication. But I love video. And as soon as I get a video camera, which only gives me one chin, it'll be so much better. But, just for a few years down the road, we're going to have holograms on our desk. We're going to have people sitting there on holograms. And just, I'm going to have to lose a little weight before we get to that point. But, technology is going to take us there. And I used to go to Singapore on business all the time, and I couldn't do that now. And with technology, that's what drove the technology, the video conferencing. So it's great. I love technology, as Bill will tell you.
Yeah, we've got one additional question from Dr. William Woods. What is a good tip for facilitating with introvert team members?
My opinion is consistency, tone, and don't make it, just talk to people and work with them. I mean, everybody's different, and you just kind of adapt and adjust and flex to the individual. Here's a tip for you. This worked for me. We exchanged disc reports so that individual could understand me better and I could understand the individual. And all of a sudden they started to see the two different styles. So my opinion is talk with people, ask for the time. If everyone's ethics are right and they're consistent and they're dedicated and committed to the organization, I mean, we have that common ground. We all understand a higher sense of purpose. We're open to experience, and we've got commonalities here. So my suggestion, William, would just be find that common ground and be natural, be authentic, be genuine. And you're just able to open up some great dialogue and active listen to see where those similarities are. And then the next thing, you could talk about friends, family, you could talk about recreation, you could talk about your organization, different things like that. But that's the way you engage. And William, you do just a tremendous job on that already. So I don't think you need a lot of them tips. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say this though, Paul, about technology connecting. You and I have sustained, I think I might've seen you physically once, twice in a year, but you and I have sustained a friendship that goes back to 2013 through technology, through talking like this. And both of us are cognizant that, it's time to dial Paul up, or it's time to dial Bill up. And we put ourselves on Zoom and we just take 20 minutes to chat or something. And the next thing you know, we're talking about baseball. We're talking about space, the space shuttle. We're talking about your hobbies, my interest, baseball, your move there. I mean, talk about building rapport through technology. It's wonderful because it connects us all over the world. I've had students that are telling me they're flying a mission in Japan or they're doing this. I appreciate this technology. I embrace it. And I absolutely love what it's done for us, and it's how it's changed the world. So, William, I gave you a ton there, so dial in and take the nuggets you need.
Well, we are at our time. And again, we could probably, as Ron, you've talked about, you could talk about this for hours.
Oh, yeah.
And so we want to definitely say thank you, Bill and Ron, for this topic and for your presentation. And it seems like we really do need to have, more time to talk about this in the future. But thank you. And for those who have joined us, thank you, all of the participants. There are more sessions here at the TLC going on this afternoon. So please stick around, look at the schedule, and join us. And again, thank you again, Bill and Ron.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.